unmute yourself where I can't see you on the grid, and then you can tell us your role.
Okay, I am the master. I believe I'm supposed to count us for everyone. Is that true?
You can do a running tally, or you can keep track. We stop at 5 for any individual.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Larry Eggert, for volunteering as our grammar person today. If you unmute yourself and tell us your role, please.
You press enough buttons and it works. All right. I'm the grammar person today, so I'll be watching. I shouldn't say watching. I'll be listening for different uses of grammar, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we'll be reporting back at the end of the meeting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grammarian. Our quote master today, also volunteering, is Ishmael. Ishmael, unmute yourself and you have the floor.
Oh, I was trying to use the space bar. So, hi everybody. My quote of the day is, you only live once, but if you do it right, once is enough. I forget who it's by. Thank you.
Bravo. That is so true. I was saying it with you once you started it. Thank you, Ishmael. Okay, you can mute yourself and we'll move on to our guest of the day is Dr. Stevens. Unmute yourself and you have the floor.
Morning, fellow Toastmasters and our guests. Wasn't sure the theme initially, so my fallback for Jess are always blonde jokes. So I got another one here. A guy took his blonde girlfriend to her first football game. They had great seats behind their team's bench. After the game, he asked how she liked the experience. "Oh, I really liked it," she said, "especially the tight pants and big muscles. I couldn't understand why they were killing each other over 25 cents. "What do you mean?" he asked. "They flipped a coin. One team got it, and the rest kept screaming and wrestling for it the whole game. 'Get the quarterback,' they screamed. 'Get the quarterback.' I'm like, hello, it's only 25 cents. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens. What does your wife think about your repertoire of blonde jokes?
Don't tell her.
Okay, moving on to our quiz master today, Len Thornton. You can unmute yourself, Len.
Morning, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. My job as quizmaster today will be to, number one, pay attention and compile a set of questions to quiz you on at the end of the meeting to see how well you're paying attention, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. All right, Len. Now, our general evaluator, Mike, are you there? I'm pressing you into service if possible.
No, it's fine. Good morning, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. My job this morning will be to evaluate the evaluators and evaluate the general tone of the meeting. So that was my role.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mike. Okay. Now we do have our table topics portion of our meeting. Who am I forgetting? Jen. God, I can't read my gesture master. Jen Zappala. Thank you.
Yes, typically I would be observing your body language and reporting back on it, but since I cannot see most of your bodies, I will be reporting on your facial expressions and anything that you are doing that is distracting today on your cameras. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. It's so easy for distractions to be on the cameras, that's for sure. Something Phil pointed out during our post Toasties after the meeting last week was he said, look, I think this was you, Phil, look in your camera. Look in your camera. It's so difficult for us to get used to looking in the camera because we want to look at each other. So especially when we are talking, look in the camera and then you're making eye contact with everyone. because you feel like you're making eye contact with all these little grids or the speaker view, or you can't see anyone, so you're not sure where to look. You have to be like a television star and look into your camera so that you can make eye contact to your audience. But it is so hard to not get the gestures, the feedback, the expressions. This is a totally new form for a lot of us on a regular basis, at least. So that's something to remember. To connect with everybody, just look in that camera and practice. That's what we're here for, to practice. So table topics. I would love to hand over the floor to our table topics master.
You forgot someone.
Someone else, speak up. I'm glad you're speaking up. Mark Campos. It was all clustered together, Jen and Mark. The timing is so important or will never end. Timer, Mark Campos, I'm sorry. It's all yours.
Don't worry, I forgive you. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. Good morning. I have my Toastmasters International app. I am ready to go as timer to keep us on the straight and narrow time-wise. Prepared speeches are typically 5 to 7 minutes with a 30-second buffer. Evaluations 2 to 3 minutes with a 30-second buffer, and table topics 1.5 to 2 minutes with a 15-second buffer. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Mark. Would it be too much work to ask you to type that into the chat for everyone, especially as a refresher of what the table I know.
Okay.
And I forgot you. So Mark is using something that most of you are seeing already. I want those of you who are unaware to know you can chat with everyone or see the chat bar. At the bottoms of your screen, you can click on the chat bubble. You have to hover over it to even make it appear on your laptops. I know you're all on different devices, but click on that chat bubble and then you can see chats and send private chats or read chats with everybody. So that's one tool we all can be getting used to, and it helps us to see what's happening. Thanks, Mark, for that. Your all I could think of was Jurassic Park during that scene when that guy's like and sets it for that timer. Oh my goodness, All right. Let's move on. Did I forget anyone else? I hope not. Speak up. Okay. I would now love to hand the floor over to Marty Johnston, our table topics master for the day. Unmute yourself, Marty, and you have the floor. Nope. Marty, you have to, or maybe Larry can unmute. I don't think I can do it.
Okay, hold on.
There we go. You got it. Thank you.
Set?
You're good.
Okay. I just wanted to touch base with Deb Franco. I missed the word of the day, Deb. Could you repeat that, please?
The word of the day
The
is
word of
joy.
the day is joy, a feeling of great pleasure and happiness.
Okay, beautiful. Joy, J-O-Y, correct? Thank you, Deb.
J-O-Y. Very simple, but
Beautiful. Thank
powerful
you.
today.
Thank you. Along the lines of the theme today, staying connected, one of the ways I've been staying connected during this crazy last month or so is through radio, believe it or not. And some of you might be thinking, how can he be listening to the radio so much? Well, I'm driving back and forth to Buffalo for work. One day I came across on the satellite something I don't subscribe to, but there's an advertisement station. And normally I get that, and periodically there's a teaser that comes on. And about a month ago, I ran into on satellite station 121, and it's called Dr. Radio. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Dr. Radio, but it's a very interesting program. And there's some doctors on there from New York University, and they specifically talk about the COVID-19 virus, and they have different professionals from different walks of life and different professions talking. I found it very interesting. So that's how I'm staying connected with what's going on in the news. And the last couple of weeks, I've been staying connected with all of you with the new technology in Zoom. I have a few questions for our table topics, our impromptu portion of the meeting. Please remember to use the word joy in your response. And I have a few people here on my list. I know one person is not a member, but he's in the audience. Is it Nando? And I have a question for Nando, and if Nando doesn't pick up, I have a couple other people. But the first question is, what have you been doing more of within the last month since the outbreak, if you will, of the COVID-19, the virus? Has it resulted in any new positive daily routines for you?
Yes, sir. I've been walking more often. I get to meet all my neighbors, and all the excess fruit I get at the Rochester Public Market, I hand out bananas when I walk around the neighborhood, so I have quite a following.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That's part of your new daily routine. Has it brought you any joy?
A lot of joys. I know how to make banana bread.
Nando, try to talk for 1 minute to 2 minutes. I know you can do it. We've done it all the time.
What about
Oh, okay. So we should talk longer. Is that my
Yeah.
problem, right? It's
Yeah.
usually not. Usually I talk too much. So being Italian, we sort of hog the place. So yeah. So now they shut down all the gyms. They shut everything down. And what I found is you're actually the element of friendship has been honed around here because everyone says hello. Before, everyone was in a hurry to get to work. So it's completely different. It's a different mindset. And I said this before, and I'll say it again. The people in Western New York are second to none. So the friendly, now I know why they call it, what do they call, I think the city of friendly neighbors or good neighbors. And before I got here, I found out, and I was one of them, that this has such a negative reputation because all they consider us is filled with snow, chicken wings, and a missed field goal. So until you get here, no, really, it's sad. I go to Houston and stuff, and they ask me where my boots are in July, and then they say, oh, I'm sorry. They're referring to the missed field goal and the chicken wings, and they think we eat that all year round, and they think it snows in July. So it's really unusual, and once you get here, you don't want to leave. So, and another thing I found out, you don't have to be family, you don't have to be blood to be considered family. So since I don't have anyone in this country, the friendships and the relationships I've honed here and it's just unbelievable. And what I've noticed is Americans are much more spiritual than Canadians. That's what I've noticed.
Thank you, Nando.
Hey, Marty,
Yeah, Mark.
can I ask you to pause for just a second?
Yes.
I had some trouble with the app because I don't know if anyone's found this, but table topics is built in the app as 1 to 2 minutes. We usually do 1.5 to 2.
Right.
I tried to build it as custom, but I couldn't kick off the time on that. Nando qualified. We're going to give it to him no matter what
Okay.
because it's my mistake. But has anyone figured that out yet? Or should we just do 1 to 2?
You could
Ooh,
do 1 to 2.
Challenge ourselves.
All right. Sorry, folks. Let's do 1 to 2 because for whatever reason I can't kick it off, even though I can customize the time.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Dave is
Marty.
Dave, go ahead.
Marty,
Yes.
it's the word of the day. My guest, Paula Bass, must be bursting. So please call on her.
She already told
Paula
us she
Bass
didn't
is
want to
bursting with
be.
joy. Yay, Paula. Paula Bass, I hear you're bursting with joy and you'd love to respond to one of my lovely questions this morning. Is that true? Okay,
Hey,
Paula.
I make my living speaking, so it would not be awful if you called on me.
Okay, Paula. And remember, you can change the question if you'd like. That's a Toastmaster option. So your question, Paula, have you or anyone you know been affected directly or directly affected by the COVID-19, the virus? And if so, how are you dealing with that? Or how are they dealing with that?
Well, thank you, Table Topic Master, for this opportunity. I am a visitation pastor, and I find great joy in that. Or as David Licata has called me for many years, Aunt Bundle Joy Cozy Sweet. But my challenge with this whole thing is that I can't go visit people. You see, I'm used to seeing people from 85 to 98, and they're filled with joy. And I have the best job because I get to listen to people and hear how it happened with the influenza of 1918 or the swine flu and all of the wisdom that comes from those that are that age. And not being able to go to see these people has been very challenging for me. I don't know about anybody else, but I can sit and visit with someone for an hour, but I find no joy in talking on the telephone for an hour.
Right.
And as I said a while ago, my 3 siblings and I tried to do Zoom last week for my birthday. And you get 4 people over the age of 65 with no 4 or 5 or 10-year-old to help with the technology. And all we did was laugh hysterically. If you wanted joy, that was the day to be there. So we're all trying to stay in touch. But I feel very badly for those that are over 85 that just have no one, and what joy it is to be able to chat with people, to talk on the telephone, not just to text, but to have that one-on-one time, no matter how we can do it. I will be very pleased and joyful when we go out, we look at people's eyes. Have you noticed when you're in the grocery store, everyone looks down instead of at someone? So take the time today to look at people's eyes, to smile with your eyes, and to find the joy that comes with just being able to see people. Thank you, Mr. Table Topic Master.
Thank you, Paula. Okay, thank you, Paula. Looking at the list of available participants here, I see we have another guest, and I'm going to offer the next question to our guest, Leslie, from the Speak Up Club. Leslie, how have you been staying connected with your family and friends during the COVID-19 outbreak? And has it been a lifestyle change for you? Has it been a major change for you personally? Would you care to share that? And remember to use the word of the day, joy. Leslie.
Thank you, Table Topics Master. This has been one of the most challenging times of my life. Everything is completely different except for my actual family members. They are the only things that stayed the same. I used to go to work every day. I used to drive to work 35 minutes every day, and now I just walk upstairs to go to work. So that's a complete change for me. The thing that's been most joyful about this change is the fact that I have more time to myself. I'm staying connected with my husband on a different level than I ever thought we could. I never thought that I could actually spend the entire day with him, but it's actually been quite joyful. We haven't had arguments at all during this entire time, and I think that right there is fantastic. So I've been out running more in the morning, and if I don't go out on a really cold, snowy day like today, or joining a Toastmasters club, I've been on my indoor bike inside, which has also been wonderful. So I've been exercising a lot more. I haven't had the COVID affect me personally, so it is a little bit depressing going into the stores or trying to go to Home Depot and it closes at 6 o'clock at night or something like that. But there's a lot of good things that have come out of this also. So other than the fact that there are people that are getting sick and there are people that are working overtime to make sure that they don't, to make sure that they get better. There's been a lot of good things that have been going on. So I thank you very much, Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Leslie. And at this point, I would like to call on our timer, Mark, for a timer's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I apologize again. Unfortunately, the app didn't bring me much joy this morning. However, Nando qualified at an unknown duration of time. Paula unfortunately did not qualify 2 minutes 30 seconds, which exceeds the buffer, and Leslie qualified at 2 minutes. So our vote should be for Nando or Leslie. For those that do use the Toastmasters International app, I now realize the error of my ways. It forces you to pick the member or identify it's a guest and input the name before you can press start and have the time begin. So don't make the same mistake as me, please. Something to keep in mind. And if you think about it, 1 to 2 minutes on table topics actually makes it a little bit easier because you still get a red light at 2 minutes, but you can get by with just 45 seconds of coherent babble. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mark. I'd like to call on Deb Franco for our Wordmasters report. Deb?
Yes, Paula actually used the word 6 times. Great job. Leslie used it 2 times.
Okay. So those are the two that qualified. They both used the word, so we're voting for either Nando or Leslie for.
And Nando used it as well. Yeah.
Nando or Leslie? Vote,
no, they both, everybody used the word. I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you, Deb. And I'd like to return control of the meeting back over to our Toastmaster of the day, Kate Banks. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you, Marty. That was fantastic. Well done. Showing us all what a good, amazing member a DTM can showcase in table topics using this new technology. Okay, let's roll right into our speaking portion. That's what we are here for, is to share and hear with each other and stay connected with each other. We will keep the lineup of the day in the order that it's listed. So our speakers are Speaker 1, Nancy, Speaker 2, Thomas, Speaker 3, Samir. We'll keep our evaluators in the same order. So evaluator 1 will be Tracy, evaluator 2 will be Ryan, and evaluator 3 will be David. And I see a question coming across. Who do we send our votes to? Ishmael, as Sergeant at Arms, can everyone private message you with the voting? Are you comfortable with that again? So our Sergeant at Arms is labeled as such. It says right there in her name, Sergeant at Arms. And if you do not know how to chat, now's the time you should know. I've visited some other clubs these last couple of weeks, and there are variants on how to vote using different Toastmasters files and other things, but on Zoom, it's very efficient to chat the votes. So again, on your laptop, this would be beneath all our photos. You hover over the long black bar of nothing, and then you will see an entire lineup of tools. You're looking right in the middle for the chat bubble. You click on it, and then you should be able to share the screen. You know what? Text me if you have any questions. I think most of you have my phone number, or you could track it down. Maybe I'll even rename myself so you've got it. Anyway, okay, let's roll right into our speaking and evaluating portion. So our first evaluator evaluating Nancy will be Tracy Farrell. Please unmute yourself, and Tracy, you have the floor. There we go.
Good morning, everybody. This morning it gives me great joy to introduce Nancy Ferry. She's going to be giving a generic speech. She's calling it a C speech. I believe that means she's just talking about our club and how things can improve. Her time will be 5 to 7 minutes.
Five to 7 minutes, our timer, sir. Okay. And I apologize. I thought I had Nancy's title. Nancy, we're going to get you situated. And there we go. Nancy, I apologize. This is my fault. I don't have your title. Will you tell me that, and then I'll introduce you properly?
I will indeed. The title of my speech is Can a Dream Change Your Life?
I love it. Can a dream change your life? Nancy Ferry. Nancy Ferry, can a dream change your life?
Thank you, Madam Toastmasters. Have you ever dreamt that you fell or that you're falling? You kind of jerk out of bed and you feel like you're falling to the floor when you wake up? Or perhaps running around naked in public? Our minds are amazing. They process information that we can't necessarily process on a daily basis. Sometimes the dreams are about life events, about emotions, about a relationship. And the emotions that go with that are sometimes too difficult and challenging to face head on. So we have this amazing process of dreaming. Going through events and life's emotions, relationships creates a palette of images and symbols for us to interpret. They're not always easy. Sometimes we wake up from our dreams and think, what the heck was that about? I never climbed Mount Everest. Why am I falling off of it? Or I never had a dream about being naked in a nudist colony. That has never been one of my things. I love my clothes. They hide a lot of bubbles. So these images that are created, they're very universal language. In a lot of ways, there are things like falling or going on a journey or being naked in public. They're not to be taken literally. Again, they're images and it's symbolic language. Many people have fear of a falling dream. And this can represent a fear of change, a fear of perhaps economic change, or perhaps you said something to your boss this week and you're afraid of losing your job or losing your status, changing a relationship. Those can create feelings of falling in your dream. Another one might be a journey. Journeys can represent being overworked, stressed, a need for change, a need for new scenery. Perhaps some of us have had some of those dreams this week. After being, 46 days in social distancing practice, we may feel this journey and have dreams about going on a journey. Or it may be that we are headed for a journey or an adventure pretty soon. Being naked, that's being vulnerable. That's all it's about, is being vulnerable. And what's more vulnerable than being naked in public? Dreams are very relevant. They're a way that we process life. Helps us to grow a sense of self-awareness, which can increase our relationships, bring peace, integrity, pleasure, and joy to our lives. And it can help us stop repetitive dreams. How many of you have had repetitive dreams that just drive you crazy? I'll tell you about one that changed my life. It began with a thread. I was in my mid-30s. I worked as a nurse's aide in a nursing home. I had 2 small children, and I also had a seamstress business in my home. I would take this piece of thread. In my dream, I would take a piece of thread and a needle, and I would start sewing. And after I get to 2 or 3 stitches, the thread would run out. And anybody who's ever even sewn on a button or knows anything about sewing, when you get to that last couple of inches of thread and you're trying to make a knot, it's very difficult sometimes if you only have a little bit of thread. Well, I would pull out more and more and more thread off of the spool. And I would thread the needle, and sure enough, 2 or 3 stitches later, I have no thread left. This dream went on for years and drove me insane. And I just mentioned what was going on in my life. Also, I was in a very awful relationship, very small world that I lived in. I took a class on dreams. It changed my life. Not just that class, but looking at that dream. I bought books and I went to a counselor and asked the counselor, what is this dream about? He says, I can't tell you. I was like, what? what do you think I'm doing here if you're not going to tell me what my dream means? He said to me, you have to figure it out yourself. And I thought, oh, great. $100 later, I have to figure this out myself. What he told me was, I can tell you what some of the significance might be, but it's individual for you. He says, there's no book on your dream. He told me that what I was expressing in my description of the dream was frustration, feeling a sense of not having enough, running out, not being satisfied. All of those things led me to take more classes. I went back and got my bachelor's degree, and then I got my master's degree, and then I went into ministry and chaplaincy, and I'm in the right place in my life. I have the right pair of shoes on. I feel that this has been the biggest change of my life, and it started with a thread. That self-awareness isn't going to come just from a class or a professor, and there's no specific interpretation of a dream. It has to come from the meaning that you have. Now, how do we remember a dream? I read in one of those books a long time ago that you set an intention before you go to bed. I want to remember this dream. And then you put a notebook and a pen next to you. Put 5 things on the paper: colors, feelings, bodies of water, transportation, and people. And why though? When you wake up, you fill in any of the blanks that you can. It takes practice. It's not something that you do right away and that you, the next day you've got it all figured out. It takes practice. But colors, remember whether they're bright or dull. Your feelings, your emotions. Were you afraid? Did you feel joyful? Bodies of water represent your soul. Are you trudging along in a bog? Are you near clean, fresh, running water? Transportation is about your journey on life. And people, this is really important, that people are symbolic. It's not about the person itself, it's more about what that person represents to you. So remember, do not take these symbols literally. And I will leave you with this one piece of advice. If you are in a dream and you're looking for a toilet, you're searching high and low, up and down, going in and out of buildings, and you finally find the toilet, don't use it. It's only a dream. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Don't use it. The real life toilet may be calling you. Be careful with that. Maybe we've all been there. Beautiful job. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to our second speaker of the day. It's going to be Thomas Heldwine, and he's evaluated by Ryan. Ryan, unmute yourself, and Larry, unless Larry's doing it now. And you have the floor, Ryan.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. This morning, I will be evaluating Tom Heldwine. He's going to be giving an icebreaker speech, which I know most of us know Tom fairly well at this point, but he's going to be getting down a new path. He's going to be doing things a little bit differently. And so it's going to be interesting to see through using the technology that we have with Zoom. It's going to be a speech that's 5 to 7 minutes, Mr. Timer. And Madam Toastmaster, do you have the title?
I do.
Okay, then I will pass it back to you to introduce Tom.
Okay, Thomas has an impromptu icebreaker, walk around my home. Thomas Heldwine.
I don't know if anyone can see me yet. Okay, thank you. Well, good morning. It's a joy to speak to you here from my home. And I thought I would talk about how this house became my home. So we're going to walk around a little bit. But before I start, I'd like for you all to think about where you grew up and where you live now, and how those two locations are different, but how they're the same. And we have a vehicle. So one of the things living here for almost 24 years is that I've grown really attached to the place because of the memories we've formed. you could start even with our mailbox here. The mailbox is the same color as the house. However, it's been run over by the snowplow every year for the last 24 years. Because I have a cul-de-sac behind me that leads out directly into my yard. So if it's icy, I end up with cars on my front driveway. We worked on the house initially just from a mechanical standpoint, electrical, plumbing, but the memories that came from those experiences showed me that I wanted to get my boys and my wife involved in a lot of the projects. One of the nice projects is this walkway, which is purposely designed to be wider with the start and narrow at the back, and has stronger and stronger winds and weaves and angles. So that it actually looks almost twice as long when you walk up it than it actually is. When winter comes, we're kind of stuck inside the house, but I have two specific memories of what happened here in my house, around the house, that we did on every year as a tradition. I guess it would be a tradition. Here in this crazy little corner, most people would look at that and say, that looks horrible, I don't like it about my house, but that's where we built a half igloo every year for the kids. So anytime I rake leaves, anytime that I'm cleaning up that area, I think about getting down on all fours and climbing into a little igloo with my kids. We have a trellis that I put up and gave to my wife during our 10th anniversary. That's been there every year, blossoms wonderfully. Me and my wife share the outside duties. I do everything, and she plants some flowers. So we share evenly. One of the nicest things about my house is where it's located. This is what everyone always sees and says, how much time do you spend out here looking at this? And not many, and unfortunately, I really don't spend enough time out here. It's beautiful. I've even got a lower deck where you can see up and down the creek for quite a ways. It's a beautiful location, but I don't use it enough. And there's one thing I would really like to do is to fix the area outside the house up a little more so that we can spend more time enjoying the scenery. Both boys still live at home, even being in their 20s. Yes, they pay a large amount of rent. Yes, they pay for their own utilities. Yes, they still have chores. I have two wonderful neighbors. The one neighbor, yes, there's a large fence blocking them, but this neighbor over here, she is a wonderful woman named Elaine, and her late husband, Rick, and they have had large golden retrievers the whole time, and they love getting massages from Mr. Tom. Every time they see me outside, they run around and get crazy and come running up, and they know they're going to get a wonderful, wonderful massage. As I keep working on new projects, it seems that everything here has been touched by my hands. I've done things here, oh, the sun's in my eyes, that keep me from losing perspective. I know that I can control and basically manipulate my own environment so that it serves me on a daily basis. Yes, you can add on to a house. Yes, you can go to a fancy house. This isn't the fanciest house. It doesn't need any more room. It's been tailored to what I want. It's been tailored to a family. It's become where we live. I believe I'm going to stay here for the rest of my life. And this is going to be hard to show, but for our 20th anniversary, I'll use my hand to make sure I'm showing it. For our 20th anniversary, my wife and me were having a little bit of a squabble. So I said, look out the window. And from our kitchen window, right behind us, you could see that. And I'll tell you, whatever fight that was ended that minute. And it was over. And now she says anytime she wants to start a fight or feels like there's a fight coming on, she just looks out the window, remembers that day. And I have to say, this house has become my home, my warm blanket, my moment of joy, the place where I want to be, and I don't mind being here, secluded in a place that I built and maintained. Thank you.
Wonderful job, Thomas. Thank you very much. Well, that was a fun and interesting tour into your life that we never could have done quite the same during a regular meeting. Okay, our third and final speaker of the day today will be Samir, and he will be evaluated by David Licata. David, you could unmute yourself, or maybe Larry's got it.
I believe I'm unmuted.
There we go. You have the floor.
This morning it will be my pleasure to evaluate my young friend Samir. Samir has been with us some time, but I don't believe he's given as many speeches that would correspond to how long he's been in. So this is great. This is a wonderful opportunity. And after, when we can all be together again, Samir and I will get together and we will fill out his book, his printed material. So I'm looking forward to this. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, David. Thank you, David. Go ahead, Samir.
Thanks, David, and thanks, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, as we self-isolate in our hopefully cozy homes as part of my leadership development pathway, I dug up some research to discuss potential paths for U.S. leadership in the 21st century. We can begin by looking at the ever emblematic document, the Declaration of Independence, that starts, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed." From this sacred document flowed forth a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, enumerated in our Constitution, which once served as a shining beacon to inspire countless other nations to pursue democracy and greater freedom. Thus, the most fundamental leadership America has always provided to the world is aspirational in character. What is a leader? To be a leader means to provide at some level, within some paradigm, the foundational elements which enable others to thrive. It's said, "No man is an island." While one man walking alone can hardly seem a leader, even island countries these days need trade and use it to their advantage. Mere economic domination is considered mercantilism of centuries past, and the real primacy America has exemplified has always been rooted in things like the Declaration of Independence, rooted in our notions of truth, justice, and equality, enshrined in those foundational texts. But what of this leadership today? Traditionally, U.S. hegemony, defined as dominance by one country over others, has been comprised of two interrelated but distinct types of power. Hard power, seen in the economy and military, and soft power, seen in the values and ideals we're able to export and inspire others with. Evolving since the culmination of the world wars into which our nation was reluctantly drawn in the early part of the 20th century, these had reached such a zenith by the end of the 20th century that our soft power led to the declaration of the end of history. The military aspect of hard power currently remains relatively unchallenged, with our nearest competitors, China and Russia, barely able to float a single aircraft carrier, yet the economic aspect is increasingly suspect to the majority of the populace over time. Whereas once, I think in some of our fellow Toastmasters memories, the minimum wage was defined as a minimum wage in which to live upon. Now those who earn such paltry wages are often derided as desultory fools who deserve their lot somehow. Yet the American corporation remains steadfast and strong as ever, the envy of the world, and even the envy of those who cannot count on bailouts for their profligacy once a decade. Don't we all wish we could do that? The more nuanced notion of soft power has also taken unfortunate hits recently, especially in terms of American leadership, with multilateral institutions designed by us themselves taking definitive body blows in recent history, ranging from trillions wasted in wars to faulty intelligence to trillions wasted in capital structures and corporations worldwide through dollar-denominated Eurobonds. Where once a rising tide was used to lift all boats, now our leading men seek to build arcs to insulate themselves from the hoi polloi, more so under the threat of pandemic, even as their efforts further the spread of itself. Our own admirals these days lament in the opinion pages of the papers of record that we are losing the mantle of the good guys, unfortunately giving cover to bad guys worldwide for their nefarious actions detrimental to the exercise of freedom. Yet some nations appear to thrive even without our notions of free expression. In just the last 10 years, the number of cars in China has risen more than threefold. How many of you at home can say your friends and neighbors, or to use some jargon, how many per capita households in your region have been able to add 3 new cars to their garage in the past few years? Probably few, if any, and as far as car companies are concerned, of course, not enough. Even mentioning it, I feel like an out-of-touch Michael Scott from The Office, screaming, "Oh, China!" Yet now, as our country and economy lie ravaged by the effects of the novel coronavirus, it may be more relevant than ever. The author is Zach Dickwald, who wrote Young China, quotes, "To make sense of contemporary China, it's crucial to understand the varied aspirations, anxieties, fears, and fantasies of millions of Chinese, as big a group as the entire population of some sizable countries, including the US, who were born after the year that soldiers killed protesters near Tiananmen Square. The Chinese millennial cohort, as large as the entire population of the US, has experienced a high level of national change unimaginable by most, going from a primarily rural agrarian economy where the primary method of transport was a bicycle, to the much modern consumer-oriented economy similar to what we're familiar with here in the average US city. To have seen such change firsthand through nationally coordinated effort must be similar to how Americans felt in the 60s, witnessing the moon landing for the first time, a feat China has only recently been able to accomplish. China is also racing ahead in new technologies in a coordinated whole of society approach. Recently, the South China Morning Post noted that blockchain, the digital ledger technology behind Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, as well as smart contracts, has received plenty of attention in China after it was endorsed by the Chinese President Xi Jinping, and also at a study session for members of the Politburo in November. Our own senators often decry the rise of China and think of ways in which to combat it, yet these advanced technological directives somehow remain elusive in our national discourse. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a single senator who could actually explain what the blockchain is. Even in conservative publications like the National Review indicate that there's an argument that the existing world order cannot change because only momentous war has done that before. But now with this pandemic, we may have found 2 functional equivalents of war that enable a lot of change to occur. In my opinion, the US has let these powers erode, and China waits in the wings to supplant us in myriad ways, including manufacturing. As a result of the cultural gap, when we meet China, there's too often an ambiguous outcome. Progress is made on immediate short-term issues, but the basic agenda of developing a common concept for the future is given less priority. What will become of this in the future? Hard to say, but as we harken back to our founding documents, I think we can still find inspiration today. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters.
Thank you very much, Samir. May I please have a timers report from Mark And we'll get you unmuted. Very good. We can't hear you. Try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, my headset battery is low. I tried to switch to the laptop. That didn't work out so well, so I'll try to make it quick before my battery dies. Timing wise, Nancy went a little long, 7:42. She did not qualify, but both Thomas and Samir qualified. Thomas at 6:45, Samir just under the wire at 7:23. David, I'm not sure if you mentioned it. I assume it was a 5 to 7 minute speech. As an aside, I'm not sure if this worked or not, but as each speaker would begin, I intentionally tried to unmute and tap my microphone in the hopes that maybe I would be visible on their screen and they could see the time. I don't know if it worked or not, or if the speakers can see the time and the colors, but that was the intent.
It worked for me, Mark.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Mark. We'll talk after the meeting for anyone who is willing to stay about things like that, how to manage the logistics of our meetings in particular and what's required. It sounds like they've been doing different things at different clubs and different contests in order to highlight the speakers, the timers, things like that. So thanks for doing what you can on that. Now, I encourage all of you to chat to our speakers. If you haven't already, our president, Larry, requested that in the chat. And again, you can hover on the chat, and then once you have the chat open off to the side on your screen, you can either chat to everyone or you hover over those and it gives you the option of everybody in here. So you can please chat to Ishmael with your vote of our speakers, Thomas or Samir, and then also send them some love notes of your thoughts today, if you can manage that. I'd like to move into the evaluation portion of our meeting since we can clip right along unless we have any questions or anything. Looks good. Okay. Our first evaluator, Tracy, evaluating Nancy. Tracy, you have the floor.
Thank you. This morning we heard a speech from Nancy Ferry called "Can a Dream Change Your Life?" And obviously a dream did change Nancy's life, and it was a very timely topic just because of all the things that we're going through right now. And Nancy always comes through with a very calm, soothing voice. And she went on to tell us about how her dreams and how they've changed her life. She also gave us a story, and that really helped us relate, and we are able to relate to her. And it's kind of interesting. I learned a lot watching these on video and how it's changed. I'm learning from watching her. And some of the things I'm learning right now is how we're communicating on Zoom technology. In some ways, it's a lot easier because we can be on time to a meeting. We're not worried about taking a shower. We're in our pajama bottoms. And the blurry pictures, we don't have to have makeup on. So there's some good positive things to Zoom technology, but I'm also noticing some negatives. A lot of us should look back into if we've ever done the communicating on video path. It gives us a lot of nice tips. One of them would be to know where to look. So when Nancy was doing her speech, she was looking down onto it because the camera was in the wrong position. And she was moving around. One of the other things that they said in that path was to do slower, more soothing movements. So standing up, we're trying to do things the old way where we stand up and give our speech, whereas now we're communicating on video. So we have to learn how to stand still, face the camera, and communicate on video. And that's just a little bit of adjustment that we're going to have to all learn. One of the good things is I loved her background, which really added to her speech. It's a nice, soothing background. And that's another thing that it did say in that path. Your background should add to your speech. Nancy did a great job of doing that. And she also kind of gave us some hints as a call to action, how to interpret your dreams and what you should think of them, what you shouldn't think of them. And then she ended it fantastic, saying that if there's a toilet in your dream, don't go there, which was a totally unexpected ending that I was expecting from her. And yes, your dreams may change your life, just as Nancy's did. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Our second evaluator evaluating Thomas today is Ryan. We're going to unmute you. You already are all set, and you have the floor, Ryan.
Thank you, Madam Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most especially Tom. Good morning, everybody. I really just wanted to start off congratulating Tom for really adapting to the technology and utilizing it to give us a full tour. I think that's a fantastic way to be able to leverage the situation that we're in. I think that would have been a little bit of a heavy prop to transport, and fitting it through the door at Tom's Diner, I don't know if we would have been able to make that work. It was really nice to get a real tour of not only your life, but the house that you turned into a home over those many years, and it's been at least 20. So that's fantastic. I liked how you started with the deep thought, let's think about our own situations. You got your family involved in the projects around the house, which helped it feel more like a home. I think when everybody has a little piece of themselves in the building, it certainly translates well to the memories that get built there, to the little imperfections that you might not appreciate when you're looking at a new house. But there's the subtle handprint on the wall when you were painting from one of the kids. There's the extra rock that somebody liked in the path, even though it's not quite the flattest. There's all those very little things that make it your own that I can really appreciate. And as somebody that's going around doing it on my own house, I thought I could definitely relate. So that's the other thing I liked, was giving us a tour of your house allowed us all to relate, whether we're renting an apartment, owning a house. It was fantastic to just kind of reflect and say, wow, yeah, all that makes sense, and either really glad to be at that same point or can't wait to get to that point. The one thing I will say is that you did a really good job of adapting to the technology to give us that tour, but there were a lot of distractions with the video. The cars starting off, obviously you can't control the traffic on your street. I don't think they'd allow you to shut down the road for a Toastmaster speech. But as you start to pre-plan and think about these things, it can help with positioning, and it can also help if you don't mention them to the audience. The audience is going to hear the car in the background, but by mentioning it, you're just making us focus on it, which takes away from the impact of the speech. Same thing with the sun and obviously the wind and things like that you can't control when you're outdoors. Other than that, I thought it was a great lesson to have. I think, again, turning the house into the home, the memories and stories that go along with it. You use the word of the day. And again, that prop worked out really well. You had the tree in place, you had the mailbox, the path, and the home itself with the trellis. I thought it was wonderfully done, Tom, and a really interesting way to do a icebreaker. So thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Our third speaker today is Samir, evaluated by Dave Licata. Dave, you have the floor.
Can you hear me? Good. This morning, I want to salute Samir because he did a brilliant thing. At the beginning of the speech, when you take on a heavy topic like this, his tone was excellent. Sometimes when we're getting into history and our opinions, we might take an irritating tone, but he didn't. And I want to salute him for that. He was well researched. He brought us a ton of information, and we appreciate it because this is an educational club. So that was nice. That was all that information you brought. That was great. Now, where he can improve, I like to think that I'm doing pretty well with this technology because I've got my cell phone propped up on a tripod, and I set the tripod at eye level today, and I have a little monitor in my upper right-hand corner, so I know that I'm looking right in the camera, that I'm in the center of the shot. And if Samir could do that before the next opportunity, but I know everybody's equipment is different, so it may not be easy. Samir murdered it because I think he had his notes on his laptop or tablet or whatever he was using, but he failed to make eye contact. Like, that would have been better. This is a small thing, Samir, but that fan was distracting behind your head. So always check your background as well. But that's for all of us, Samir, not just you. Now, he did a nice job with his editorial. His presentation had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and we love that in AM Lockport Toastmasters. And I want to salute him for using the phrase, in my opinion. That's a very important thing that we've learned in Toastmasters. And I want to thank him very much for his presentation today. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, David. Okay, so that is our evaluation portion done. Can we have a timer's report, please, Mark?
Absolutely, Madam Toastmaster. It brings me great joy to share that all three evaluators qualified: Tracy at 253, Ryan at 258, and David at 240. So please cast your vote for Tracy, Ryan, or David. Madam Toastmaster.
Okay, Tracy or Ryan or David, please private message chat to Ishmael again with your votes for Tracy, Ryan, or David. Okay, before I ask for our reports and our general evaluation, since I didn't do much filler today, I have about 2 or 3 minutes I can give some. It's about staying connected. And those of you who are our guests may not know, I've been in the club for coming on 13 years, and my unofficial role has evolved into cruise director, as dubbed by Dave Licata. And to me, that's about socializing, social planning, planning the trips, the occasions, the parties, the rewards, celebrations, the awards, anything we've done in the past decade, I feel very involved with, from our picnics to our parties and so on. This changes everything about that. The extroverts here in the Zoom room understand the pain right now. Some of our introvert friends may be loving on this. My fiance, complete introvert, and I feel much more prepared for being indoors and isolated because of being with him for a few years. But he's living this up. I am dealing with it. I want to do more Zoom happy hours or Google Chats or things like that. I think it's a great way for us to stay connected. And I'll talk more after the meeting if anybody wants to chat about that or message me. I'd love to do some Zoom happy hours or Zoom workshops, something Toastmasters related or not, so we can do different things with all of that. There's so many ways to stay connected, and many of you are striving for that right now, whether it's the surge in having pen pals again, whether it's snail mail, whether it's a phone call. I know, like Paula, our guest, mentioned, it's so hard to not have that in-person contact. For a lot of us right now, this is what we have. So we're doing these things that is unusual for us, playing games with apps or staying connected with our friends and family. Some of you have shared how you've been dealing with this for years. You've dealt with it for your job. Maybe you're involved with the military. You've Skyped or FaceTimed with your friends and family or long distance relationships for years, and you're coaching the rest of us into this new world. And I think it's important. I know I said only a couple minutes, so I don't want to go too long, but I just learned that loneliness is more hazardous to our health than obesity. That's massive, folks. And loneliness, people that apparently in just the last 20 years in our country, long before COVID, 3 times as many Americans have said they have no one to confide to. They don't have anyone to connect to. And so this right now, where we're canceling churches and work and sports, and we are doing something hazardous to ourselves, but it's in order to save lives. And it's such a paradox that we're all trapped in, but it's a balancing act. And I think we can all help each other get through this ride. So I guess I'll save the rest for a speech at some point, since we need to get to our reports. But it's about staying connected. It's about relieving stress. I'm gonna give just 4 quick things about how we do it. 4 quick ways. Exercise a bit more, even if it's just a walk around the block. I saw a man yesterday walking loops in his driveway, just loops in his driveway. I thought, brilliant, he had a massive driveway. Second, it's called social distancing, but it should be called physical distancing and social closening, because we need to be closer than ever. Third, mindfulness. I don't care if you call it prayer, meditation, what it is that you do, stay mindful. If you need to be mindless sometimes and lost in Netflix or lost in other things, you do you. 4, and final, do something for someone else. Volunteer, share, care, anything you feel like that you can participate and do something for someone else and get out of your own stuck in your mind. Okay, let's get to reports now that I talked for 10 minutes. That's typical. Okay, let's go to first, how about we do a grammarian report from our volunteer grammarian, Larry Eggert. Larry, all yours.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I do have some extensive notes here. I'll keep it short. A very deep meeting today, I'll be honest with you, some of the things that were said. Deb, simple but powerful, talking about joy. Nando talked about the city of good neighbors. Let's see, Mark was interesting. Coherent babble, which I thought was pretty deep. And I also like the fact that he works for Verizon and he still could say, "Can you hear me now?" A little bit of a clash there. Nancy, I was getting some really interesting visuals about running naked in public. Seen that on my job a few times, pretty interesting. Certainly does read into somebody's character sometimes. Thomas, make a house a home. Samir had a bunch. I wrote down 10 or 12 things. Just the one I really liked was ever emblematic. I thought that was pretty deep. There weren't many so's, or's, or likes. I was trying to listen for those. I didn't see many of those, but I did hear a lot of a lotta's. I just did it. Sortas and kindas. So that's my report, Madam Toastmaster.
Excellent. Thank you so very much, Larry. Okay. How about we go next to our master, Mom. I can't find her on the screen. Let's get her unmuted. Okay, Beth.
Okay, there we go. I would say we did pretty well today. Samir, unfortunately, you kind of took the prize for the most Oz. Nancy and Thomas both had a couple during their speech. Ryan, you, as in general, you actually had the most. I was told that if you have more than 5, I stopped counting. You had more than 5. Dave Licata, you had a couple. Not normal for you, but you did kind of squeeze a few in there. Otherwise, I think it was a very good day. Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, Mom. Okay, how about our quiz master is Len today? Len.
Okay, unmute myself here. I tried to pay attention today. Took 2 cups of coffee. What color is my coffee mug? Let's unmute all here so that we can hear. What color is my coffee mug, everybody?
Yellow.
It is
orange.
Yellow. It's yellow. It's
yellow. It's your Toastmaster mug.
It's our 25th anniversary mug.
25th, which was a while ago. And thanks to David. And let's see. And yes, I'm now enjoying French roast coffee or French press coffee. So that's nice. Okay, Nancy's background. What body of water is that?
Lake
Ontario.
Sodas Bay.
Lotus Bay. Very good. How many of our members use headsets in their Zoom conference?
One.
Two.
Four.
Two. We had both Larry and Mark, I believe.
Phil had one.
Oh.
And Phil, 3?
Oh, yeah, Phil.
Phil, sorry, I stand corrected. Yeah, Phil, Mark, and Larry. Okay. I experimented last week. I think I found a better solution. I'm hoping my audio is all right with this
Yes,
external
Much
web.
better.
much better.
Nando expanded his culinary skills and now make what?
Banana bread.
Banana bread. Very good, Mario. Paula really misses going in the homes of people from what age group and the stories they tell her.
85 to 98.
85 to 98, 85 or older, yes. Let's see, Nancy has a recurring dream where she's running out of what?
Bread.
Bread. Good.
Bread.
Dave.
Bread.
First there. Tom carved initials on the tree for him and his wife. What were those initials?
T and B.
T and B, very good. Let's see, Samir talked about soft power versus hard power, and legislatures don't understand what technology behind cryptocurrency.
Blockchain.
Blockchain, very good. I'll give that one to Muklas. He chimed in first. And that's all I had for today. Very well done, everybody. Good for paying attention.
Great questions, Len. Thank you so much. Now I need to give our general evaluator a chance to give his evaluation.
Oops, sorry.
And that's okay. Then we'll wrap up with the word master. And so Mike Licata, let's get you. Oh, and gesture master and Jen. So first, let's say first Michael, so he can use his gestures for Jen to keep track. All right, Mike, you ready?
Yes. Yes, I am, Madam Toastmaster. Thank you very much, fellow Toastmasters and our guests. My report this morning is I have to give Katie a lot of credit. First, for stepping into the role of Toastmasters. I know that it's a very hard time for a lot of us, and the fact that you went out of your way to pick up the Toastmaster role and your ability to fill the roles and make sure you had all the speakers was important, and it's impressive because we're all still adjusting to this, and I think we've all done a great job with the adjusting to the online format of the meetings. I think that you did a great job with your theme. Your filler was solid. I don't want to put her on the spot, and Jack, I apologize if I do, but it would be great, and maybe in a future meeting, I think it is important to talk about the mental health during this time, and I know your role with the Mental Health Association. If you especially if this goes longer, Katie kind of touched on a little bit the whole mental health aspect of this experience, but somebody with your experience, I mean, even if it's just a speech, other than and then being the ringleader Toastmaster, I know a lot of us in the club would benefit from it. Not to put you on the spot, I apologize, but I think Katie did a great job. All three of our evaluators used the sandwich approach, where they used positive or negative feedback, mostly positive, and then some negative feedback at the end. I think we're all learning. This is all new opportunities to grow as speakers. So I think everyone did a great job. And that is my report this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, Jen, as our gesture master, you have the floor.
Perfect. Okay, so I've been noticing everyone's cameras and what they're doing. Sometimes I don't necessarily want to, but I do anyway. Thomas, I think that you need to learn to mute your, I'm not, sorry, not mute. What is the word for the video? When you, can you mute a video? When you mute, you need to learn how to like turn off your video when you're doing something, because I saw a lot of your hand today and I would rather just see nothing. So just make sure that you turn your video off instead of covering the camera with your hand. And Carol, I actually noticed you doing something similar. It looked like you were scrolling through something because I saw a lot of the inside of your hand and not necessarily because you were clapping. So just be aware of that. I think, you know, we're sitting at home, so you might get up to get a coffee or like run out of the room to do something. So I noticed some people using this very well. Len, Leslie, Larry, and Mike all turned off their camera if they were doing something distracting and then it came back on. But I saw other people getting up and moving around. So just be aware of that for all of us. I noticed like Tracy was trying her background today and Deb at one point was like hiding from some of the lights. So she had moved like almost off camera. So I noticed a couple of things like that. Some of the good things I noticed, Paula was one of the only people that I saw use hand gestures today. So excellent job, Paula. And Moklis, I think you're gonna win my best observer for today, because some of us are like looking down, maybe looking at phones. It's hard to tell what everyone's doing, but Moklis was making such good eye contact when all of our speakers were presenting today and was responding and laughing. And all those things are actually really noticeable, especially if you are speaking and you can see everyone's face yawning. It's not like Tom's Diner where we're not facing one another. And so those things aren't as noticeable. So I wanted to point out that Moklis is an excellent listener. He can listen to me anytime. So I appreciated that. I think a couple of other notes just for our speakers. Nancy, your background, although it was soothing, you were like disappearing in and out of it sometimes, which I found a little bit distracting. So just be aware of that. And Samir, I know David pointed that you were reading your notes. One thing I also noticed is I think you're sitting in a swivelly chair because you were like doing all this like, woo. So instead of tapping your foot, that might be the new sitting position of, instead of foot tapping and some of those other nervous gestures we have. So just be aware of those. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Our word master today, Deb Franco.
Hello. Okay, so I have David said the word, Marty said it a couple of times, Kate, Mark said it a couple of times, Tracy said it, and Jackie, she chatted it in big letters. And that is my report.
Thank you so much, Deb. Okay. I don't recall how we gave out awards the last time. Do I just announce this, or Larry, do you want to take this on? I got that from our Sergeant at Arms. I know we want to wrap up now that it's 8:30.
Do you have the results, Kate?
I do. Shall I announce them?
Feel free.
Okay. Our best table topics today is our guest, Leslie from Speak Up Batavia. Congratulations, Leslie. We're giving you a virtual ribbon here. Okay, our best evaluator today was Tracy. Tracy, well done. And our best speaker today, taking us on a journey, Thomas. Well done, Thomas, on best speaking today. That was a fun field trip.
You have split club tickets now.
Oh, no split club. We'll have to figure out how to Venmo that or PayPal that. Or
afterwards.
We'll work with that. Okay. Any announcement? Well, I'll hand this back over to Larry, our president. He can handle announcements and closings and so forth. It is 8:30. If you have to go, we'll see you next week. But if you can stay, please do.
Thank you very much, Kate. I want to thank Kate, number one, for a wonderful meeting and for stepping up in the last couple of days to be our Toastmaster this morning. So a nice round of applause, please, everyone, for Kate this morning. And thank you for hosting our meeting. It was a very thorough meeting. It went. We started a couple minutes late, but we actually finished exactly on time. So thank you, Kate. Our Toastmaster for next week is David Licata. And Dave Licata will be sending out our agenda. And if you can, please let him know ASAP. if you're able to fulfill your role for next week, we would appreciate that. And also reach out to some friends or family that may also enjoy some comfort by joining us and having a little social activity with 20 or 30 of their wonderful Toastmaster friends. Are there any announcements that anyone has before we end our meeting this morning? No? Okay. I would like to thank our guests this morning. And if any of our guests would like to offer something to the group as a whole, we would appreciate that. First of all, thank you, Nando.
No problem.
Thank you. Do you have any feedback from today's meeting that you would like to share?
No, it's entertaining every week and enlightening.
Well, thank you. Stay safe, my friend.
God bless you.
You also, my friend. Paula, thank you for joining us this morning. And Paula, one of our members from way back when, would you like to offer anything in regards to your evaluation of the meeting or anything at all? Thank you.
Well, I certainly have learned a lot today. I have to figure out how to see the timer. That's one of the things. And I've learned a lot. I host a Bible study at 10 to 11 today. So I'll take everything I've learned today and go forth. But I hope I get an invitation for next week.
Paula, it is a standing invitation. And our meeting, for our guests that are here with us this morning and also for our members, the exact same link that you used for this morning to attend our meeting is the same one that you will use next week. We use the same one. It won't change during our virtual meetings. So
that's great. Then I'll keep the email.
Keep the email, yes. Also, we'd like to thank from Speakeasy Toastmasters, Leslie.
Thanks, Larry. I thought your meeting was really wonderful. You're such a strong club, and it really shows. Even in a virtual meeting, you can really tell there's a lot of connection here, and I really like to see that. I'm going to leave today with being more motivated, because that's what Toastmasters does for me. It's highly motivational. And thank you for allowing me to sit in on your meeting today.
Thank you very much, Leslie. You're welcome anytime at any of our meetings. Feel free to come back. And we will also, as a matter of fact, Leslie, when is your meeting? That way we would like to join as a guest.
You can. We meet every second and fourth Tuesday evening. The next one will be on April 28th at 7 o'clock. We sign in at 7 and then we begin the meeting at 7:15. If you'd like, I have a Facebook page for us. If you just want to send me a message and I'll send you the link. Unless I might be able to get the link on the Facebook page by then, but just in case I don't, just send me a quick message and I will make sure you get the link to the meeting. And we also have a standing meeting for Toastmasters, so you can use the same link for every meeting.
Thank you so much, Leslie. We appreciate that. We also have another guest this morning who I understand will, after today, perhaps not be a guest anymore. Our newest potential member that will be joining us, Alexis. And please welcome Alexis and give her a nice round of applause. Alexis, do you have anything you would like to share this morning?
I'm happy to be able to join Toastmasters and have some social interaction besides my customers at work. my experience at work has been very different for me. I mean, I usually don't get out much. I usually don't socialize much outside of my family with my kids and at work. And it's not the same for me anymore. I used to be more joyful to work and to communicate with people, and now it's harder because I see other people's grief and struggles, and it's harder for me emotionally. You know, I don't want to come home and vent on my kids. They all have their headsets on and they're playing their video games anyway, so I could. They wouldn't even notice. But it was great joining this week's meeting, and I loved each one of the speakers' topics. I got something from each speech, and it was great. And I'm looking forward to many more meetings. Thank you.
Forward to having you as a member.
Yes, thank you so much, Alexis. We welcome, yes. One of the things that I would like to leave everyone with this morning before I adjourn the meeting, I was fortunate enough to sit in on a workshop, and then I attended another workshop, and I have actually signed up with him as a coach. And it is Darren LaCroix. He was the 2001 International Speech Contest winner. And one of the things that he says, and if you absorb from our meetings, is to become a sponge. And he said, one of his quotes was,
Oh, that's good.
"You will reap what you soak."
Oh, that's excellent.
So at every Toastmasters meeting, we gain some new knowledge and insight on our daily lives, and it leaves us with a smile. And with that, I would like to thank all of our participants today for joining us. And we will have post-toasties right after this. If you have to depart, I apologize for the lateness of our ending of the meeting, but the meeting is officially adjourned, and we want to thank you for participating. But if you would like to stay on, we will be having post-toasties and conversation immediately right after this. So thank you, everyone, and applause.
Thank you, Larry.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
I don't know about anybody else. I need a break, so I'm just going to black my screen off, and I'll be back.